It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, discussing incredible classic beers. And recently I've been talking about some legacy breweries like Sierra Nevada that have brought back retired or at least somewhat retired beers, and giving us, people that have been in this industry for a long time, been fan of craft beers, a chance to rediscover some beers that we fell in love with years and years ago. And I was just walking through the aisle today at the local Total Wine and More, and I came across this by Dogfish Head. This is the Festina Peche. This is a beer that I adored when it first came back in 2007, I believe, from a brewery in Dogfish Head that I just had so much respect for. So much of what I've done in my brewing career and in owning and operating a brewery has been inspired by Dogfish Head. From my early days being back at the Funky Buddha, doing a lot of culinary inspired beers, to doing some classic styles and really trying to nail those as best I possibly could. I've always looked at them for inspiration. And this might have been one of the first Berliner Weisse style beers that I ever had. It's kind of hard to tell back in 2007 if I had had one before then, but that's what this is. It's a Berliner Weisse style or inspired beer with real peaches. And when this beer first came out, it kind of blew my mind because I love the tartness, the soft acidity that this beer had, whereas kind of some of the other sour beers I'd had have been much more aggressive. Then we also, eventually got super uber aggressive beers out there as far as the acidity goes. And then we went in the other direction and made our sour beers, our tart beers, not really sour at all. And then they just basically were just fruit juice. This is really perfect in my opinion. It has that beautiful peach flavor. It tastes authentic. It has enough of that rounded flavor that really even almost like you taste the peach flesh. You get hints almost of the seeds. I mean, because there's complexity in there. I know when back in the day when I was one of the partners over at Odd Breed Wild Ales, Matt Manthe, one of my partners there and the head brewer, he was obsessed when he used and did peach beers. He would actually throw the seeds in there as well because he thought that they gave it kind of like an almondy or nutty kind of nuance to it. I don't know if they're doing that here, but I'm picking up all those nuances of the peach flavor in this beer. It's a little more acidic than I remember, but also, it's been a long time since I've had this beer. This beer was retired, so to speak, in around 2018. So it had about an 11-year run as a regular beer for them. And they brought it back sporadically for some mixed packs, for some summer releases. And this is what this actually was. This was a summer release. I know we're at the tail end of summer. All the pumpkin beers and fall beers are already out. I don't know how I missed this. I obviously did. There was one 6-pack on the shelf. I must have walked past it 10 times over the last couple months and not seen it. I'm so thankful that I did, because this is one of those Dogfish Head beers, along with things like Chicory Stout, things like Black and Blue, Red and White, that I just adored, and they're just gone. And it's just such a shame, because not only do I want to talk about these beers, but I want to drink these beers. These are really, really enjoyable. They're a foundational beer to my craft beer experience. And I think beers like this, they're a lot better than a lot of the beers I find on the shelf these days. It's not an insult to them, but I feel in a environment where people are trying to hit people over the head with flavors, this beer does subtlety. Along with the peach flavor, you're getting little hints of lemon zest, which are obviously some acidity to it. There's a breadiness in the malt that you pick up. It's just a really refreshing, delicious beer. Light, drinkable at 4.5%. A buddy of mine, Phil Palmisano, he works, he's worked everywhere in the industry now. He used to be a sales rep for us some years ago, but this was a beer that he was obsessed with. He loved it. He tried to replicate it as a home brewer. And I have fond memories of that, of tasting his home brews, is how he's trying to do a beer like this and doing these sour beers. And he really inspired me, honestly, to do some sour beers back in the day at Funky Buddha. And a lot of like the Florida Weisse subculture of sour beers really came out of a love for beers like this and trying to kind of do them really, really well, and maybe even up the ante and go a little too fruit forward with them. But I don't think a lot of people would be into sour beers and have the respect for sour beers if it wasn't for a brewery like Dogfish Head that's so integral to what the American craft beer scene is, if they hadn't done this beer. So, tip of the cap for them. Thank you guys so much for bringing this beer back. And please, and I might have also missed other beers. Maybe Black and Blue has been released recently, one of my favorite beers of all time, but I know no one from Dogfish Head is going to watch this video, but if you do, please bring those beers back. Chicory Stout, Black and Blue. Those are two beers that I just adore. And just the fact I get a chance to talk about them here on Old Favorite Friday and pick up, a metric ton of them and so that I can have them and store them over time so I can enjoy them slowly would be absolutely wonderful. But back to the beer that we're actually talking about, the Festina Peche. This is a great beer. If you're still lucky enough to have this on your store shelves, a lot of times the summer beers will kind of linger a little bit. You'll see a 6-pack like this laying around. If you can find it, pick it up, please do so. Please support them for bringing back a beloved beer like this. It's really important for them to see the sales. It shows them maybe they can bring it back next summer, or maybe in a couple years it'll rotate back through so we can all get a chance to try this beer again. I think when it comes to food and beer pairings, people are usually scared of sour beers. A lot of times they'll just pair them with like salads and things of that nature. I think this beer can pair with a lot more stuff. If you think about just the world of like white wine, a Sauvignon Blanc that has a lot of acidity to it, especially if you're talking about like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, has so many food pairing options. And I think that you can do the same basic thing with a beer like this. Strangely enough, I think this also, because of its acidity, it can pair up with some kind of heavy, fattier foods because it has the ability to kind of rinse the palate and refresh the palate for you. I was thinking of pork bao buns for this particular beer. I think that the peach fruit would add just such complexity to that. And because of the acidity, it would really, really cut through that fattiness, that saltiness, and really, really complement it really, really well. And another kind of off the wall that I was thinking about was just like a good old fashioned gyro. The tzatziki sauce, just the fattiness of that kind of lamb. I think it would go really, really well together. Once again, cutting the fattiness and adding some subtle fruity nuances to that. I mean, there's so many dishes, there's so many foods like ceviche that go really well when you add a fruit component that's not over the top, that adds subtlety to the dish without taking away the other aspects. And I think this would be great for a lot of those implications. Guys, thank you very much for joining me as always. Come back next week for another Old Favorite Friday. Please click around the channel. Like and subscribe so you can get these videos directly to you every single time they come out. They come out once a week, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.